Have you ever tried to mark your fabric but the chalk you're using doesn't really work? Hey guys, I'm Tammy and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I've got 5 different fabric markers that I'll be putting to the test so you can choose the right one for you. So when I first started my sewing journey, I was always taught to use chalk like this to mark your fabric. This one's from Hemline and I think it's a very standard shape of chalk. I've always found chalks like this aren't really precise enough and they don't really show up really well on different types of fabric. So in this video, I'll be going through all these different fabric markers that I got from Amazon and I'll be testing them on different types of fabric. So for each of the markers, I'll be using it on a linen fabric, this really nice cream one. I'll also be testing it on a black fabric. This is a Ponte Roma, so stretch fabric. And then I'll also test it on another stretch fabric, which is a cotton jersey. And again, it's another stretchy fabric. And it's just a good way to test how it actually behaves on different types of fabric. I'm going to take you over to my table so we can get started with the first one. So the first one I'm going to try is this one right here, which is very common. It's Tailors chalk by Hemline. And I got this as a pack of 3 for $4.99 on Amazon. So if I open it up, you can see you've got 3 different colored chalks. You've got red, white, and blue. And the reason why I actually don't like using this anymore is because it breaks so easily. You can see it was one shape like this, and as time's gone on I just end up dropping them, or they're just so fragile they just break as I'm using it. So this is a close-up of what it looks like along the edges. When you first get them, the points are quite sharp, so it's much easier to make a sharp line, but as you can see as you go on it does obviously dull, but when it does break you do get new sharp points which can be useful. I've just zoomed in and I'm going to use the sharp edge of one of the chalk edges to make a line. Now I'm really not pressing that hard, but you can see it made a really nice clear line on the linen fabric. That's the red. I'm going to show you the white, but I don't think it's going to show up very well because it is obviously light fabric, but actually you can see it has given a nice white line. And then you can see the blue. I don't use that often, which is why it's probably still intact, but let's just try this one. And you can see that's what the Hemline one looks like on linen fabric. It actually worked out much better than I thought it would. Now I've got my black Ponte Roma, so this is a stretchy fabric. Let's try the same chalk and see how that performs. Obviously, as I'm doing it, it's going to stretch the fabric, but you can see that it does show like a nice clean line of where you're marking. That's the red. If I pull it from up here and try the white, that's also left a nice line. That's also left a nice line. You can see the chalk does get everywhere on your hands. And then I've got my cotton jersey right here, another stretchy fabric. Let's try the red on this. So it's kind of hard to mark on this fabric, but you can see it has left a mark. So that's what that looks like on this fabric. I feel like the blue worked the best. So that's the first one. I've put them back in here and I'm going to try another one. So the next one I'm going to try is the Prym chalk cartridge set, and it comes with the pen and also some different colored chalk, and this cost me $11.99 on Amazon. So this actually feels and handles like a pen, so there's not much mess when you're using it, and it has a little rubber on the bottom, and when you press it the opening opens, and that's how you put your different colored chalks in. At the moment I've just got white, so let's try that on the linen. So first of all, I just love the fact that I can hold this like a pencil. It's so easy to use. So you can see that's made a nice clean line. I like with this one as well, you can actually write words really easily and letters because obviously you're using it like a pen, whereas holding the first one, it's kind of hard to use and get curves, for example. So that's the white. I'm just going to try a few other colors. So again, I just press that button and I slide the chalk out, and then I press the button and I put the new chalk in like that. So I've got pink in here. I'm going to try that. Whoa, you can see just how smooth and easy that was to put on the linen. That is honestly so well. That color works amazing. That's the pink. And even if I just write some words like my name, you can just see how easy it is to write with this type of chalk. I'm just going to try the blue as well. And again, you can see that's what that looks like. I'm going to try the blue as well on the stretch fabric, the Ponte Roma. that you can see has marked really nicely. Let's try writing on the Ponte Roma. Obviously writing when you're on stretch fabric is really difficult, but you can see that still works really well. So if you are marking things like just the name of the pattern piece, like A, or even the number 1, it does mark really easy. And again, you can see that's marked really nicely. You can see actually it's a bit cleaner, the lines, and also I haven't got chalky fingers from holding the chalk because it's in the pencil. So I've got the pink version in the pen, and I've also got the cotton jersey. Let's try this now. So you can see it has made a mark, but it's quite hard to see. Let's try the white. I would say that marked really well on this type of fabric. And that is what that looks like. I think this actually marks so much better than the other one. So the next marking tool I'm using is this one right here. It's called a Clover Chaco liner, and I got this one for £7 just for one. Now there's actually like a chalky texture in this section, and when you open it up, you've got the chalk that comes out here, but you can actually unscrew this and put more powder at the bottom. I've got my linen fabric, and again, I like the fact this is a pen. It just makes it really easy to hold. But let's go ahead and try that. So you might have noticed like a rolling noise as I was doing that. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see that rolling kind of teeth bit at the top, and that's what you actually use to distribute the chalk. And let me press a bit harder and see if that looks any different. So that's what that looks like. I only have the yellow color, but you can see it does mark the fabric. It's a bit faint on this color. I don't know if it's a very clean line. It's a bit wobbly on this one, and I found it a bit hard to get the chalk out, but that's what that looks like on the linen. And then I've got my black Ponte Roma. Let me try it on here. Oh wow, you can see that made a really clean and sharp line. That worked really well on this fabric. Can I do curves with this? Probably. So yeah, I can do a curve. Can I write something? Yeah, so that's what that looks like on the black. I think that works really well on a stretch fabric that has structure like a Ponte Roma. And then let's try it on this more stretchy cotton jersey. So as I was doing that, I found just doing one swoop wasn't actually that helpful, but going back and forth definitely created a more solid line. You definitely can see that, and it is a nice sharp line, but it's definitely kind of hard to get a consistent line. So yeah, if I go over the spot multiple times, it then gives a nice consistent line. So the next markers that I'm going to be using is a pack of 2 that came together, and this cost me £9. So there's a water erasable pen and also an air erasable pen. So if I just open them up, you can just see it looks like a normal felt tip sort of pen. I'm going to try both of them. I actually did try the air erasable one a couple weeks ago, but I lost the fabric to try it on, because the whole point of this is you draw this on fabric, the water one, and then you can just put water over it and it will come off. The air one you can draw onto fabric, and you're meant to wait between 1 and 10 days and it will just magically disappear on its own. But I actually lost the fabric that I tried this on, so I haven't actually got one to try, but I'll still show you how it marks. So I'm going to try the blue water erasable one first. And you can see that made a really nice, easy line. I tried the pink one. And it's actually purple. And you can see that's what that looks like. It's marked really nicely on the fabric. I'm going to try it on the black, but I'm pretty certain it's obviously not going to show. So yeah, obviously this is not going to work on black fabric, any of these, because it needs to be a lighter fabric to show up. But let's try it on this one. So you can see that made a really nice clean line on that. And let's try the purple. And again, because it's a pen, it's going to be really easy to actually make shapes and write letters or numbers. Let me try and draw another A and see when that comes off with water if that actually works. So So I'm going to go ahead and show you the last fabric marker before I try removing any of them off the fabric. This is the Frixion Erasable Pen, and I use this one a lot. It's a normal roller style pen, and it's got ink inside it that actually disappears when you touch it with steam. I got a pack of 5 of these for £11, so it's really good value. So let's try this one over here on the linen fabric. You can see it marks really nicely, and because it's a pen, I can write really easily. This one actually might be running out, which is why it's not showing 100%. I do use this one a lot, but when I first use it, it does look very dark like that. So that's that on the linen. It definitely isn't going to work on this fabric because I've tried it before, because it needs to be a light color, but let's try it on the cotton jersey. So you can see it definitely makes a mark, but because the pen keeps catching on the fabric, it doesn't really create a smooth line. Let me go ahead and try removing some of these. So when it comes to removing the markers off the fabric, I usually just use a wet wipe on the chalk ones and then just put it in the wash and it comes out. I'm also going to try right now using water to get rid of the water soluble one, and also using steam to get rid of the one that disappears with steam. So for the chalk ones, for example, I like to just get a little wet wipe. I have these just makeup ones that I use normally, and I'll literally just get one and just run it over the chalk to help loosen it. So like that, for example, you can see it's not disappeared completely, but it's got rid of some of the residue. If I just try that on this one, you can see that definitely has come off a bit, but it's still quite visible. If I try the yellow one, I mean, that hasn't really done anything because I've just smudged it. I found with chalk that I'm always usually marking on the wrong side of the fabric. So even after a wash, if it is slightly visible, it doesn't really make a difference because I won't see it from the outside. So for the water soluble one, the blue one, I've actually got a towel, just a normal face towel, and I've dunked some water on top of it. So let me just try and rub that off. You can see that actually pretty much disappeared both of them, which is really good. That kind of tells me when I put it in the wash after, it's definitely going to get rid of it. And then if I also just try steam to get rid of the one that disappears with steam. So I've got my iron right here. I'm just going to go over that section. And you can see that completely disappeared on the fabric, which is why I also like using that version too. I can also try just taking this off with the cleansing wipe, the makeup remover, and you can see that came off really well on the Ponte Roma fabric. Let's try the other one. Again, that all practically disappeared. So again, you can see when you do use a makeup remover or like a wipe like that, it gets rid of the chalk on the actual stretchy fabrics really easily. Let me try it on the other one. It's kind of hard to rub it when it is stretchy, but it does definitely work. I'm just going to wet this a bit more. So you can see when I just wet the cloth a bit more, you can get rid of the marker really easy. So that's the one with the steam. I wonder if it works with water. I mean, it does actually. So yeah, you can just use water as well. So you can see on this one, the water does actually get rid of the marking really well. That one, it was a bit hard to get rid of, but again, when you're kind of rubbing stretch fabric, it tends to pull, so it can be quite difficult. I personally just like to use literally the wipe 1 or 2 times, and then I put the garment in the wash, and that does normally take it all out. So that is how those 5 fabric markers work on different types of fabric. As you can see, some of them definitely perform better than others. If I had to pick my favorite, I think it depends on the fabric that I'm using. So for the past couple of years, every time I've wanted to mark fabric, I have basically used a Frixion Erasable Pen, which does really work nicely on lightweight linen fabrics and things like that. But specifically when I'm using fabric that's a stretch fabric, I do now like using the chalk one that looks like this. I think it just works really well, and actually I have been using this sometimes when I'm using lightweight linen fabric. I think it just marks really easy. I like the fact you can put any colour chalk in the nib. The only thing with this is sometimes I've pressed this button and forgot to hold the end, and the chalk just slides right out on its own and it just breaks on the floor. So that's something you definitely want to think about. I hadn't tried this one until recently, the one that's a water erasable pen, and that actually works really well. It does come off really easy with just like a pressed cloth and some water, as you saw in the examples. And then that leaves these two, and this one, I'm not gonna lie, is probably my least favorite because I just don't use it anymore. I said in the beginning that I find it really annoying that every time I use it, it ends up snapping and breaking in my hands. And also I just find this one really messy because you have to actually hold the physical chalk. I think that this one's a really cool idea, the one that has a little nib that kind of rotates. To be completely honest, when I compare it to this one, I way prefer this one, and it kind of basically does the same thing. But let me know down in the comments what you think of the ones that I've tried and which one was your favorite. I'll leave links to each one in the description box in case you want to check them out. But I hope this has given you a bit more understanding on what to look for in a fabric marker and how they actually behave on different types of fabric. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video if you like my content. I'll see you in the next one.